Hi, okay, warning time. This episode, it deals with some really traumatic stuff. Some things which happen to a child at a young age and are very difficult at points to hear. So, I'm just warning you. This is the point where if you don't want to hear it, get out. But I will tell you this. There is a silver lining in this episode. There is a positive, or I wouldn't have picked it otherwise. Are people afraid of you, Beth? Yes. Who is afraid of you, Beth? John. John, your brother? Yes. Why is your brother afraid of you so much? Because I hurt him. You hurt him? Yes, I hurt him. At night times, Beth, what do your parents do to your door? They lock it shut. And why do they do that? Because they don't want me to hurt John. Are your parents afraid that you might hurt them? Uh-huh. And would you hurt them, Beth? Yes. What would you do to them, Beth? I would stab them. With what? A knife.
At nighttime, what do your parents do to your door?
Lock it shut.
Why do they lock it shut?
Because they don't want me to hurt John.
Right. And they're kind of afraid of hurting John? Of you hurting John?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Are they afraid that you might hurt them?
Yep.
Would you, Beth?
Mm-hmm.
And what would you do to him, Beth?
Stab him.
Okay. What would you stab him with?
A knife.
Welcome to Extraordinary Stories Podcast. Hey, how are you? Are you well? Are you good? I am. Okay, so just two tiny short outs and then short outs? What the hell's a short out? Just two tiny shout outs. So, shout out to Rebecca Kiernan. Rebecca, I really value your place in the Facebook group. Thank you so much. You say some lovely things and you often provide both humour and are the voice of reason at points. So thank you for being that and for doing that. Carla Gray, thank you for your absolutely gorgeous comment yesterday in the group. I really appreciate it. To anyone who gets in touch with me, Instagram or Twitter, any of these, I am really grateful. Please know every message, I see it and I really appreciate it. Okay, so we will go with this story. Now, I did warn you, it is upsetting. Are you ready? Okay, let's go. Beth is 6.5 years old. The doctor asks, "Do you ever stick pins in people, Beth?" She answers, "Yes." "Who?" "My brother." The doctor asks, "And what are you trying to do to your brother?" She says, "Kill him." "Why do you want to kill your brother?" She says, "Because I don't want to be around people." The doctor asks, "Who else would you like to stick pins into?" She says, "Mummy and Daddy." The doctor asks, "What do you want to have happen to your mummy and Daddy?" And 6-year-old Beth says, "Die." Tim is the minister in a small town in southern America. He's been in charge of his church for years. He has led the congregation for a long time. He's been married to Julie for years. They met young, and they're having real difficulty in conceiving a child. They've tried for years, and it just seems that between them, they cannot conceive a child. They're both heartbroken by the fact that they can't. So they go through the trying, the failing, it's just never happening. Every time they think it's going to happen, it never happens. And they realise that chances are it just might never happen. So they need to now start thinking about adoption. So they start to apply to go through the adoption process. And so this is 1984. They have to wait and hope and pray that a child will come their way. Only a few months into their adoption process, they receive a phone call, and it's good news. Not only is a child available, 2 children are available. They're told that they can have a brother and sister who need a new home. So they're delighted because, when they applied for the adoption process, they thought they were going to get 1 child and then have to go through the process again. But here they are. They're getting a ready-made family. They're getting 2 children. They're getting a brother and a sister. So who are this brother and sister? Well, they're getting 19-month-old Beth and her brother Jonathan, who's 7 months old. And what's great for Tim and Julie is that they hadn't really been on the list too long, and here they were, ready-made family. Okay, so this wouldn't, I seriously hope, I seriously hope this wouldn't happen in 2018, but Tim and Julie, they weren't given a great deal of information about the 2 small babies that they had just adopted. I mean, they were given some information. The kids hadn't come from the greatest home, but they weren't really given a full picture of where these kids were coming from. Pretty quickly, they started to see problems in both the brother and sister that they had adopted. At 19 months old, Beth was almost despondent when they tried to pick her up. She showed them no reaction. 7-month-old Jonathan, he had trouble holding up his head. It sort of flopped downwards. And they had to work really, really hard to just try and make eye contact with him. So, as you would, Tina, Julie, they go back and they ask for some information. They say, look, something's going on here and we don't know what it is, but we just need a bit more information. What is it that these two have been through that makes them so distant at a young age? They're not like any other child who constantly wants picked up or constantly wants touched and loved and cuddled. They don't want that. These kids do not want this. They seem to be really unfamiliar with the idea of being picked up or held. So they discover through some conversations and documents that they should have seen. They should have had fucking access to these ages ago. That Beth and Jonathan had come from a situation where they had been treated terribly by their parents. Beth and Jonathan, these kids, they had been left for days in dirty nappies and been made to sleep in dog beds. They would go days without food. They had been utterly emotionally and physically neglected. Beth, at 19 months old, used to have horrific nightmares. She would wake up screaming in the night, and they tried really hard to get her nightmares under control. So the nightmares continued for a few years. Beth, at 6 years old, would wake up screaming her head off. And when they asked her what the nightmares were about, she would say they were about men falling on top of her and crushing her. And Tim and Julie would sit on the end of her bed and listen to her describe that in her nightmare a man was falling on top of her. Now, what I'm going to describe next is vital for the story, but know that I don't really want to speak these words, but they are necessary for the story. They really are. During an interview with a child psychologist, age 6, Beth describes that her father used to touch her and hurt her. She actually uses way more explicit language, this 6-year-old, but I can't bring myself to use the words that she actually says. She's 6 and she can remember being hurt by her father aged 1. She remembers it from that young an age, and this is burned into her brain. The doctor asks her to draw a picture, and she draws herself as tiny. She draws her father in the picture as a really big figure, and she gives herself a sad face. God, if you're struggling at this point, I warn you, it's going to get worse. The doctor asks Beth to explain about the way that she treats her younger brother, who's now 4.5. And she says that she likes to kick and to hurt his private parts because it makes her feel good. Oh. The doctor asks, do you want to hurt your brother? Yes, she says. All boys should be hurt. Now, the emotional, psychological side here is that having been through her own abuse, she just now wants to inflict abuse of her own. And this absolutely breaks my heart, but clinically, because there was no love or affection ever shown to Beth or Jonathan. They had developed no skills in having empathy for others. They could act as they pleased without any kind of remorse. Tim and Julie, they go through some horrendous things with young Beth. Things you just would never want to go through with your child. Again, it's not somewhere I want to go, and I'm not comfortable talking about it. But she's overly sexualised for a 6-year-old. She touches herself continually anywhere that she can, everywhere that she can. And her adoptive parents are doing everything that they can to teach her that in the middle of a supermarket it's not okay to take your trousers down and start to touch yourself. She's violent towards her brother. She is so violent towards him. She launches these great attacks on him. Now, siblings, they fight, yes. I had some horrific fights with my brother. But this was terrible. She was really violent. A lot of the information that we know about Beth comes from the recorded interviews with the doctor who was treating her. And remembering the age she is, there is a point where the doctor says, "Do you have any pets, Beth?" And she says, "Yes, 4. And for a moment in this interview, she looks like an excited child. You know, the way that like a young kid just wants to tell you about their pets and their dogs, and they wanted, you know, and it's just, she's just this wee, like, oh my god, it's heartbreaking, because she just turns into this wee girl who just wants to talk about her pets. And she lists their names, and she tells the doctor, one's called this, and one's called this, and one's called that, you know, and whatever. And then she says, oh, in the most wide-eyed way, she says, "Dad says there's a stray cat in the neighbourhood, and if no one claims him, then I can have him." And the doctor then says, "Well, what do you do with the animals that you've got?" And she says, "Well, I stick pins in them a lot." Right, let's pause. You're probably in a bit of a bad place with this story. I'm going to just be really honest with you here. I stopped here at this point in the story, right at this part of the research. And I went, nah, I'm binning this one. I don't like it. It's making me feel really uneasy. And then I sat with it for a while, and I thought, right, okay, let's address this Baza, which is the name I address myself with during a meeting with myself. So I thought about it, and in the meeting with myself, I decided that I would carry on, because yes, it's horrible, but it gets better. And also I thought, why is it that I wouldn't stop myself if this was, you know, a man murders someone, or a crazy chef poisons hundreds in a restaurant? And I think it's because it's the only time I've ever done a story where the subject matter is a child. It's the first time where I've ever told a story, an extraordinary story, where the central character is a 6-year-old. Like, that's new for me. That's brand new. So yeah, I sat on it for a while and I thought about it, and then I thought, do you know what? No, there is a positive outcome to this story. As horrific as it might get, there is something to be learned from it. And if a story can do anything in the world, it can teach us something. It can be positive. Not all fucking true crime stories need to end in horrific disaster. They can have positive outcome. So I gave myself a slap around the face and thought, right, get on with it. So the animals, the pets that she has, are taken away from her one day. She's devastated that the pets have been taken away, but they had to be. She was abusing them so badly. One day her parents go out to the back door and she's climbing a tree. Okay, fine. Kids climb trees, but Beth's reasons were quite different. There was a bird's nest in the tree in her back door and she was intrigued. Her parents thought, what we have here is a learning opportunity. This is a moment to challenge her. They told her, Beth, you are allowed to look at the birds, but you are not to disturb them. Because if you disturb them, the mother bird will become very angry and very upset with you. And they thought that she understood this. So, they go to bed. They think they've got the message through. They wake up the next morning, and lying in the backyard is each bird dead, and it's had its neck broken. In the night, Beth had crept out of the house, climbed up the tree, brought down the nest, and killed each bird one by one. I fucking hate birds. You know this. I fucking hate them. I'm terrified of them. But I would never harm one. Never would harm one. It's a real worry at this point. I mean, remember, you guys out there, you've been listening to true crime for a long time. You'll know that serial killers, psychopaths, it often starts with animal torture at a young age. And you know the most devastating thing? This is what's so devastating, is that see when you watch the interviews of her being interviewed when she's young, she's so sweet, she's so articulate, she just looks so cute, and she's like 6 and she's just answering all the questions as best she can, and the doctor's like saying to her at points, she just nods her head at some point and the doctor's like, use your words, and she's dead articulate. She's like really so anyway, that aside, as parents, Tim, Julie, they're at their fucking wits' end. Remember, Tim's a minister. He has patience for days. He has patience forever. But they're going to have to resort to some terrible methods. And the reason that they have to do it is because she is getting up in the night. She's going into her brother's room and she's punching him in his sleep. So she's punching him in his face. She's punching him in his stomach. And every morning he is waking up and he's complaining. He's 4.5 at this point. He's waking up and he's complaining that he's got a sore tummy and he's got all this. And he's covered in bruises. And it's Beth that's getting up in the night and doing it. They actually have to get to the point where they tie her door shut every single night to stop her getting out of her room. Her violence is out of control and they have no idea what to do. The next thing that her adoptive parents notice is terrifying. Knives start to go missing from the kitchen. She has been stealing knives from the dishwasher and the kitchen drawers and hiding them in her room. Hiding them in a way that she knows they will never be found. She's 6.5. The doctor asks her, what do you want these knives for? And she says, to hurt Mummy, Daddy and John. Now, it's not really a great leap here for her parents to think that she's got these knives to cause hurt and to cause damage. They had found her a couple of times beating her younger brother's head off of a wall, where they had to actually drag her body off of him before she killed him. She tried to smother him once, only to be stopped by her dad. Fuck. I would like to take the man who caused this child so much pain at a young age and knock the fucking shit out of him, because how damaged she is fucking tragic. It's so tragic. And I know I'm just going to put this other marker in here. I know it's horrific. Stick with me. It gets better. So the family are at absolute breaking point, and eventually they agree, after months of seeing doctors and psychologists, that they need to get Beth treatment. And that comes in the form of Beth being removed from the family home. She's taken away and she's placed with a doctor who is a specialist in child disorders based on trauma. So it's 1989 and she's out of the house. The doctor who is in charge of this case, says this, and I think it's really interesting. He says, "People don't think children are capable of killing. If you think that, you are kidding yourself on. I've seen 9-year-olds kill. They do it. I've seen it. I've treated these kids. It's perfectly possible, and it's way more common than you know." So what is the psychology behind the treatment that she's receiving? Well, it's this. They put Beth into a position where she has no power. As they see it, children like Beth are in complete control of their own lives. They don't see authority. They don't understand anyone outside of themselves. So the doctors, what they do is they take that and they reverse it. They put Beth into a place where she has to ask for everything. A drink of water. She has to ask to go to the toilet. She has to ask to play with toys. She has to ask to draw. She has to seek permission for everything. So what they're trying to teach her there is a bit of authority. Now, along with that, what they're also trying to teach her is attachment to people and to animals. So they've got horses where she's staying for her treatment, and they give her a horse which is hers to feed, and she becomes responsible for that one horse. And amazingly, fucking amazingly, this therapy seems to work. It seems to work on very damaged kids. The horse, in a way, kind of becomes like a friend. The child, and in this case Beth, starts to learn the horse is entirely dependent on her for food, and she gets to the point where she actually wants to feed the horse. She wants to care for the horse and make sure it's okay. So those feelings of empathy that were not existent in her before, those feelings of empathy, they start to exist. She starts to feel what that is. She also starts to, through having to ask for permission for everything, realise that she isn't in control of everything, that she's not the centre of everything. The other big fundamental thing here is these doctors, they use a system of praise where they will praise and they will give self-esteem to these kids who really need it at that point. And so this sort of three-pronged attack of getting praise, learning empathy, and understanding that you're not the person in control seems to really work. And after a few months, Beth is really improving. She started to gain, at 7 years old, for the first time in her life, this weird sense of what's right and what's wrong. And she had never had that before. She'd never had that. She became part of all these social groups. She sang in the choir. She's no longer in any way attempting to hurt anybody around her. Doesn't want to, even when she has the opportunity, doesn't want to inflict pain on anybody. It gets to the point where her treatment is going so well that all the security measures that they had around her are taken away. There's no locked doors. There's no having to ever restrain her. There's no being scared when she's around a weapon, because that all just kind of disappears from her through this therapy. Now we'll all remember the horrible bird incident that happened with the broken necks of the birds. Beth, unbelievably, is given in her room her own 2 little budgies in a cage, and she adores them. She feeds them, she cares for them, she raises them. She is so protective of these 2 little birds. She's interviewed again on camera at 9 years old, and this girl is smart. She is switched on for 9 years old. And the doctor asks her, because this is 3 years on her treatment, the doctor asks her, do you remember what you were like? And she says, yes. And they say, do you remember you had some terrible behaviours? And she says, yes. And they say, why? Why were those behaviours so terrible? And she says, oh God, 9 years old. She says it's because my birth father hurt me and I wanted to hurt other people. And they say, are you sorry? And she says, I am so sorry. There's a horrible moment here where she just bursts into tears. And you can see it's the tears of just sadness and regret. And you don't ever in your world do you ever want to see a 9-year-old fucking crying out of regret for things that they've done. 9-year-olds should not feel that level of regret. But there's just an incredible moment where she bursts into tears because she is so sorry for everything that she ever, put her brother through, put her family through, all the fucking things that she did that are terrible. But she's 9 years old. Do you know what I mean? Oh, it's just, oh God. So after a few years, Beth is returned to her family because she's made such amazing progress. Now, it's not that life was from then on going to be rosy. These things are not fixed quickly. Of course, no one gets over abuse quickly or ever, in fact. But the difference is her family don't need to worry that she is going to hurt them. She has changed and the healing in her has really begun. Beth goes from strength to strength and she really flourishes as a young child. She goes through major amounts of therapy as a child, as a teenager, and as a young adult. And I want you just to listen to this voice.
Are they afraid that you might hurt them?
Yep.
Would you, Beth?
Mm-hmm.
And what would you do to them, Beth?
Stab him.
Okay. What would you stab them with?
A knife.
As I was growing up and having this inability to love and then learning to love because I had those people in my life that helped me to learn to love and learn to have empathy. For many years, I always felt abandoned in a way, and that I always wondered why God had abandoned me is kind of how I felt. And I felt like I was on my own. And then as I started to heal and as I started to, my heart started to grow and I had compassion. And then I started to teach and share my story. It became very obvious to me that I might not truly understand why I went through what I went through, but there is a reason.
That was Beth as an adult in an interview from just a couple of years ago. Beth went on to train as a nurse. She spent years speaking on the subject of child therapy and child abuse. Very successfully. She has become the most well-adjusted adult. And so ends the story. Well, let me know what you think of that story. It's horrific in parts, it's horrible. Like I said, it's the first time I've ever told a story where the central character in the story was a young child. I don't know that I'll be in a rush to do that again, but when I came across this story, I just was like, I have to tell it, because, you know, child abuse is not something anyone ever wants to talk about, ever. Why would you? You would never want to fucking talk about it, ever. It's the most horrific thing in the world. It's the one thing in the world that makes me just want to fucking kill people. But there is a silver lining in this story, and there is evidence that actually therapy can work, therapy can change. Now, if I could reach out to every child in the world who had ever gone through any sort of child abuse, I would, but I can't. I'm one man, I can't do that, but I am so happy in the case of Beth that actually there is a positive, and that now she is someone who's making her way in the world and can help other people through what they might be going through with, you know, a child who's been through abuse. So, anyway, that's the end of that story. If you want to join the Facebook group, please do. You'll find me quite easily. If you want to get on Instagram, Twitter, I'm there. If you want to get in touch, just do it. Speak to me. Thanks for listening. Okay, goodbye.
It didn't affect me really one way or the other. I would imagine from the look on his face, let's get it on, let's do it, let's get it over. Let's get it on, let's do it, let's get it over.